Okay, so I'm not at the house, so it's a little bit different setup right now, but figured I'd address a kind of a comment slash question that was given to me on my email. Pretty much, he's the guy that emailed me, or the gal, I'm not sure by the name of the email, that emailed me, seems to be a dispensationalist, and then she said how she or he, I'm not sure, said if you're not a dispensationalist anymore, then that means you don't take the Bible literal, in a literal sense. And no, I don't take the Bible literally where it's not literal. So I do take it literal. In other words, I take the Bible correctly. Where it's literal, I take it literal. Where it's not literal, I don't take it literal. The Bible's full of Jewish hyperbole, especially in the Old Testament. And just an example of that is, well, he or she had brung up Matthew 24. Let's see, I got it in my notes here. 24-29, when it talks about the sun not shining, the moon not giving its light, and then the stars of heaven falling, and all those things. I'm just paraphrasing, because I have my Bible open to Isaiah 13. Isaiah 13 deals with the destruction of Babylon by the Medes in 539 BC. And God, when he's talking about judgment, and he talks about judgment in the same way he talks in Matthew 24. And this is just Jewish hyperbole. So it's just a way of that God inspired the scriptures for the Jewish people to understand how magnificent, how awesome God's judgment is in that sense. In awe, they stand in awe of it. So let me just show you in Isaiah 13 verse 9. It says, "Behold, the day of the Lord." Now I want to stop right there, because in most dispensational camps, the day of the Lord, they will separate that from, they'll say there's just one day of the Lord, and that's talking about the second advent. And sometimes they put it in other places, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because there's different camps, so it depends on what camp of dispensationalism you're in. But the day of the Lord, there's many days of the Lord, or the day of the Lord in the Bible, and it's dealing with God's judgment too. So there's not just one. I wanted to put that out there since it's right there. But it says, "Behold, the day of the Lord is coming, cruel with fury and burning anger, to make the land a desolation. He will exterminate its sinners from it." Now here's the hyperbole. "For the stars of heaven and their constellations will not flash forth their light. The sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will not shed its light." And then verse 13 says, "Therefore I will make the heavens tremble, and the earth will be shaken from its place." And so you see the hyperbole that's used. Now, if you took that, and of course that was fulfilled, like I said, in 539 BC, the Medes came in and destroyed Babylon. But none of those things actually happened. That was just Jewish hyperbole. So if you go to Matthew, and I'll go there now, Matthew 24:29, and this is, I think, the problem that dispensationalists, and myself, when I was a dispensationalist, run into, is taking these things literally. Because if God did not mean it to be literal, then we need to take it the way that God wrote it, and how he wrote it, and why he wrote it that way. So Matthew 24, let's see here, verse 29, it says, "And immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from the sky." Now, if the sun even got closer to our earth, it'd burn up in a heartbeat. I mean, just in a second. If it got any closer to the earth, our earth would burn. So any star in the constellation is hot enough to burn up the earth within just a second or two. So obviously God is not saying this is literally going to happen, but God is showing that his judgment is awestruck. It's like being awestruck. It's awesome. God's judgment is, all powerful. His judgments come to pass. Just that kind of thing there. So I was just addressing that. So when it says the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, well, if the sun is darkened, it's not working, we'd freeze. If a star fell to even got close to the Earth, if a star got close to Earth, and their star's way bigger than the sun, then we'd burn up, wouldn't we? And if the sun wasn't giving its light, then we'd freeze. And that's, so this is just what's called Jewish hyperbole. And you'll notice in the Bible that there's a lot of cosmic catastrophes that are just not literal. It's just a way that God used the culture of that day and the way that God spoke to the Jewish people, how they would understand and stand in awe of God's judgment. So I hope this helps somebody. Until next time, good day. God bless.